South Philadelphia, nicknamed South Philly, is the section of Philadelphia bounded by the Delaware River, a diverse working class community of many neighborhoods. South Philadelphia is well known for its large Italian American population, but it also contains large Asian American, Irish American, and African American and Latino populations. South Philadelphia is known for its artistic flair and its multicultural foodie attractions like the Italian market, the birthplace of Beanie Siegel, Amber Rose, and Meek Mills. South Philadelphia has a rich cultural background, but it also has a long history with gangsters. The Italian-American Mafia family, known as the Philadelphia crime family, ran much of the operations in South Philly in the 1900s, but in the late 1960s, in the Point Breeze section, a bunch of African-American men organized a group called the Black Mafia. I gave you the history of South Philadelphia and some history of Philly as well, so you can understand the environment that the Black Mafia grew up in. The Black Mafia was founded in September 1968 by Samuel Christian, who later adopted the name Sumala Bey under the Nation of Islam. He was born in South Philly on March 20th, 1939. Close associates called him Bey. He often worked out and had a military mindset. He was a born leader, powerfully built, at a solid 215 pounds. He was often called a bully at times, but he lived by the street code, rather being feared than loved. Him and close associates controlled the drug trade in South Philly, operating mostly with heroin, with the bricks coming in from the Mafia. They gained power in local communities by intimidating people to prevent anyone from reporting the group's activities to the police. Because of this structure strategy, the police had an incredible difficulty time taking action against the gang. Sam's original plan was to coordinate and consolidate historic inner city crime in numbers, prostitution and extortion, and legitimize businesses while combining with the rising drug demand in Philly. It can be argued that their success drove legitimate black businesses and capital, such as numerous successful African-American owned banks, medical practices, stores, landlords, and other African-American businesses to escape the cities as segregation pressures faded. Angelo Bruno, the Don of Philadelphia, discouraged drug dealing in South Philadelphia, but could not prevent deals being made by New York Mafia families, such as the Gambino crime family, led by John Gotti. Gotti's brother was doing business directly with the Black Mafia, although dealing drugs in the Mafia was a death sentence. After Bruno associates got wind of this news, they started doing deals with the Black Mafia as well. Bruno turned a blind eye to many of his renegade Italian gangsters who did business with blacks as long as they met their financial obligations to him and the New York families. He founded a hierarchy with a complex structure in 1968, which consisted of 14 individuals. Members and associates were called Part 1, and low-ranking members were called the Little Brothers. This structure kept members in line. Members could move up the chain of command according to certain established criteria. The meetings were organized at different locations between 1969 and 1975. As the gang gained local control, separate meetings were held for those holding position of power and those who were general members. The average number of attendees ranged from 40 to 60 members, and minutes were taken during the course of the meetings. Many members were transported to and from meetings while being blindfolded, taking extreme security measures. Their structure was similar to the Italian mobs. They had an oath that was required by members to be taken to ensure their security and that members would not disclose important information. The oath also swore to report any violations of the oath under risk to the family and other members. A strict set of rules were implicated and created to govern these meetings as well. For example, each member upon entry was required to be searched by authorized members. Only the presiding members at the meeting was allowed to appoint who could carry weapons. They had 3 different fractions, and the projects served as their front to their criminal activity during their control. Other gangs didn't really pose a threat to their power. Their aim was to put an end to gang activity in the African American community, but power structure over the drug trade turned South Philly into a war zone, and city residents and local law enforcement saw the gang war unfolding in front of their eyes and knew that the Black Mafia was behind the war. The Black Mafia reigned supreme throughout the streets of Philly and was known throughout the tri-state area. But being successful in the drug game, you have to lay your murder game down, because someone is always going to come for your spot. And when the murders come, that's when the FBI comes as well. One of the first murders to contribute to the downfall of the Black Mafia was the overdose of Pork Chop Jones. But I have to give you the history first. Truly was beaten with a lead pipe by Richard Pork Chop James, apparently at the request of a third party. Truly was a Pennsylvania deputy insurance commissioner. He ended up losing 3 of his teeth and required to get 26 stitches. Pork Chop ended up getting locked up for a murder in New York on unrelated charges. Philadelphia's Crime Investigation Unit had a warrant out for Pork Chop. So when his name was ran through the system, an extradition warrant was issued for him in Philadelphia. But before he can get extradited back to Philadelphia, Pork Chop died in a cell over a drug overdose on November 23rd, 1969. At the time of his death, the Camden Police Department, as well as the FBI, had him under investigation. They stated that he went to New York at the orders of Eugene Bowe to fulfill a murder contract. And while staying in New York, he had murdered a woman and a child and wounded the man that was the supposed target. The files also stated that Pork Chop's overdose was in fact an hot shot administered to him by one of his own members of the Black Mafia family. The FBI concluded that the overdose was arranged to ensure his silence in the Black Mafia-related assault case. January 4th, 1971, around 4 p.m., 8 Black Mafia members decided to rob a furniture store on South Street called Dubrow. They entered the store one by one, posing as customers. Once they were all inside, they pulled guns from their jackets and told all the employees to get face down on the floor. They used electrical cords to bound all 13 employees, and 2 were actually shot. A janitor who walked in on the robbery while doing his job was also shot and killed. One employee was doused with gasoline and set on fire. After these vicious treatments of the employees, they looted through the offices in the store and set more fires to destroy evidence of the robbery. The 8 criminals fled away in a getaway car as soon as the fire alarm went off. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Frank Rizzo described the crime as one of the most vicious crime in Philadelphia history. Tyrone Palmer, known as Mr. Millionaire in the underworld, was a major drug trafficker who supplied most of Philly. Sam Christian did business with Tyrone personally, but their relationship fell out over a girl. Easter Sunday, 1972, Tyrone and his crew was in a club called Harlem, popping bottles. After receiving his location, Sam decided it was time for Tyrone to go. He shot him in the face in front of 600 to at least 900 people. Tyrone's bodyguards returned fire, and it was a shootout. When the smoke cleared, Tyrone got killed. 3 innocent women and one of Tyrone's bodyguards as well. 20 additional people were rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. One murder that made the headlines of the Philadelphia press was the murder of Tasmania Taz Lane, the manager and girlfriend of Philadelphia singer Teddy Pendergrass, who was shot dead on her doorstep in her home in 1976. As the violence grew throughout South Philly and the murders piled up, the FBI intelligence grew as well. And in 1974, 21 members and group affiliates were arrested by the FBI and Justice Department's Crime Strike Force. Samuel Christian, the gang's founder, was the 321st person to be added to the FBI's 10 most wanted list as a suspect in the 1972 murder of Tyrone Fat Ty Palmer. In 1974, Christian got picked up in Detroit for a 1971 shootout robbery and attempt murder in Harlem. He was convicted and sentenced to 15 years in prison. No witnesses wanted to come forward in the Palmer murder, so he was acquitted in the grand jury.